Hello and welcome to the Musty Creative Podcast. I'm your host, Jesús, Noland, and I am joined by my friend and yours,
Michelle Noland.
Wow, Michelle said her full name. No extra... Are you sure? You sure
Yeah.
about that? Okay,
I couldn't think of anything.
Yeah, I didn't hear any funny. Thank you for joining us today, even though it's musting here because we've been working too hard. If this is your first time listening to us, we are the Musty Collective and we motivate ourselves to become better storytellers. Today we have a very special guest on the show. She is a current associate professor of film and television at La Sierra University and has worked as an assistant director for a number of famous television shows. Welcome to the show, Carrie Specht.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thank you so much
Is that
for being
as
here.
generic hello as possible?
Well, we're really glad to have you here. Obviously, the show is going to be amazing. We welcome Carrie, and to our Musty Collective, we're super excited to have you. Let's start the show. Hi, Carrie.
Hi.
Thank you for being on the show today. We want to officially give you the honor of being a Musty Creative.
Welcome.
Oh, thank you. I'm so honored.
Yeah, essentially a Musty Creative is someone who works really, really hard at their craft, as you have.
True.
And then also doesn't give up. Shows that grit and perseverance, even in the face of adversity.
Well, I've come close sometimes, but yeah, I'm still working at it.
Awesome. Getting into it, we just wanted to first talk about your life as far as starting in the industry.
Okay.
Where did it first begin? What was that first movie that inspired you to say, I want to go and make that? And
okay.
to add to that, was your family supportive, and where did you get any mentorship in that?
The first film I ever saw that got me thinking about working in the business was actually when I want to say 9.
Oh, wow.
And people my age, they always say Star Wars, but for me it was The Sting.
Wow.
Yeah, and this was like a re-release when it came out, but my friend's divorcee mom took me to see it, and my mom had no idea that this woman I was a sleepover, right? Yeah. And so when my mom found out, she was pretty upset. I mean, I don't recall there being any real bad words in there, except maybe damn or something like that. But yeah, I absolutely love The Sting. And for people who don't know, it won Best Picture in 1973. Okay. Stars Paul Newman.
It's about
Robert
4 years
Redford.
before Star Wars.
Yeah. And it's just a fun heist film and a con movie. Yeah. With 2 of the most gorgeous men who've ever been in film. And
can you name those gorgeous men?
Yeah, Paul Newman and Robert Redford.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yes, Robert Redford, of course.
Yeah.
A young Robert Redford.
Yeah. He virtually looks exactly the same today, but his face is in leather. Right. And so it was just a fun film, and I thought even at that age, oh my gosh, I want to do this.
Wow.
So in my upbringing, even though I lived in a relatively small town, there was a ridiculous amount of theaters. And I had friends who worked at all of them. Oh, so wow. I was able to go see movies for free. Yeah. So I saw a lot of movies growing up. My mom actually was the one who introduced me to the first classic movie. On PBS one day, they were showing Singing in the Rain.
Okay.
And my mom was always supportive of my sister and I and my other siblings to do whatever we wanted to do. She wasn't one of those kind of parents who were like, oh, you can do anything. Yeah. But she was supportive in the fact that whatever we wanted to do was great. So, I never had any pushback. My sister's an actress. She never had any pushback either.
Wow.
But my undergraduate degree is in screenwriting.
Okay.
I went to San Francisco State.
Okay.
Which wasn't all that far from my hometown. And then I had no intentions of going to grad school, but after a year of graduating, I was like, what the heck am I doing? Because I'm not working in the business. And how do I ever hope to work in the business in San Francisco? Yeah. It was a very close-knit community of commercial making, mostly. And I didn't know anybody. So I applied to grad school at NYU and a couple other schools. NYU was the only one that accepted me. So I was like, all right, I'm going to NYU. Yeah. So while I was there, I started working in commercials and music videos as a production coordinator and production manager.
Wow.
And it was a really good experience. I also produced, like, I don't know, I can't remember. It was a high number of student films, like 8. And all of them went to major festivals. And
That's amazing.
many of them, I almost want to say all of them, won some kind of award or another.
Yeah.
I should say I was the only producing major at the school at the time.
Yeah.
So I got to pick and choose. But I am convinced that these films would not have done as well without me. I'm just saying it like it is.
Hey, standing your truth.
So, I never wanted to do anything else. It was the only thing I ever thought of as doing a profession. I don't think there was anything like, when I was a kid of thinking about being a fireman or a policeman or anything like that.
Do you happen to remember before that 9-year-old experience, maybe some other career?
No, not at all.
Wow.
I don't think I was aware before that of thinking about a career.
Yeah.
My mom was a stay-at-home mom until I was about junior high, and then she became a stockbroker.
Yeah.
My dad, I never understood what he did. He worked he worked in Silicon Valley. He moved from different companies to other, and he ended up working at Atari until it shut down.
Wow.
But he had a bunch of initials. He was like the project manager for the NBCI whatever, and I never knew what that was.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, for all I know, he was working for the CIA undercover.
Right.
It was like his cover.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I have no idea how I became interested in it other than what I just told you, and then I just stuck with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, mentors, golly, I mean, other than my professors, I had some really great professors at San Francisco State who I believe are still teaching there.
Okay.
Whose names escape me at the moment, but
Yeah,
when I remember them, I'll tell you.
That's all good, yeah.
And then I had some great professors at NYU.
Wow.
But yeah, it was mostly when I was done there. I moved back to California.
Yeah.
I came to LA because I had friends here, and I want to say for at least 6 months. It might have been longer. I was couch surfing.
Wow.
From one place to another.
Yeah.
And then finally, after about a year, someone recommended that I apply to the Directors Guild of America trainee program.
Okay.
And despite its name, you're not being trained to become a director. You're actually being trained to become an assistant director.
Okay.
I got in, and I was there. I finished the program in 2 years, which is the time that it takes to finish it.
Yeah.
And then I became an assistant director, and I was assistant director for 10 years.
Wow.
As a second AD.
Yeah. And for some of our audience, our Musty Collective out there, we know what director does. Some of us do. Yeah. But then can you take us through the responsibilities of an assistant director?
Yeah, it's a management position.
Okay.
A first director is the person who's handled all this upper management, scheduling and recruiting and planning ahead of time.
Right.
Then you get to set, and what they call a key second AD is then taking all of that and planning the day-to-day work.
Okay.
And then the second, which is what I usually did, was the one who was on set helping set background, or actually the person who did set background, helping to communicate to the different departments, because the first would just tell you, go check with them, go check with them. And you also dealt with the actors, making sure they were on time and communicating if they weren't, getting them breakfast, getting them through the works, which is hair, makeup, wardrobe, and then letting them know how long they have to wait, and then letting set know, okay, they're ready, and can you give me an estimate?
Right.
The getting ready part is like fast, lots of juggling.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
then you sit around and wait until they need them. So I remember getting a lot of sunburns while I was outside in what they call base camp.
Yeah.
But once you get to set, and of course you've checked in all the background, who are the people who don't speak. Once you get to set, then you're pretty busy setting background. Most shows have what they call a bullpen, where there's a main office, where there's a lot of people walking around, whether it's a stock brokerage or a police station or the FBI or something like that. They're for production value, to make it look like they're actually spending money on the show. They have a bullpen where there's a lot, even on West Wing, they had like the main corridors where they had to have a lot of people to populate it to make it more alive. Right. So you have to go out there and you have to set them. Now, set them sounds like you're just putting them in one place, but you actually have to give them some direction. And the second does that because if the director did it, then they would be considered a day playing actor, and you'd have to pay them a lot more money.
Oh, wow.
So anytime a director starts to walk up to a background artist, one of the assistant directors should intercede and go, what would you like me to tell them to do? Thus saving production a lot of money.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have to say, look, you're a secretary in the police station.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to go over with a manila envelope to that desk, talk to Sergeant so-and-so who will be sitting there. I haven't decided who that is yet. Who's ever sitting there is Sergeant so-and-so. They're going to be on a phone call. When they get off the phone, you're going to talk to them, and then you're going to switch paperwork and walk over there. But then you're going to wait for the actor to come in and say their lines. And when they start to go one direction, you're going to go the other direction. Basically, it comes down to using 5 or 10 people and make them look like 3 or 4 times as many.
Okay.
So they're always keeping the screen alive.
Right. Like making the world like seem alive.
Yeah.
To the viewer in the background.
Yeah. Otherwise, you got nobody in the background, which no world is like that.
Right.
And you might watch a movie or a TV show and go, there's something not right here.
Yeah.
Why? It's just lacking energy.
Right.
So even if the camera is focused in a way where it's not deep focus and you can really only see your principal actors, you have to have movement back there. They may be blurry balls, you know, to the television audience, but there needs to be movement. Otherwise, it's a dead screen.
Wow. Okay, so that's really exciting because I've always wondered about that, like building the backstory for characters that aren't like the main characters you would see and relate to. So part of your job is kind of doing that, filling that in, you know, giving the actors context. Would that mean that you'd have to really know the script? Does it mean you'd clash with the writer at all with anything, or
as
give
an
ideas?
assistant director, you don't have any contact with the writer.
Okay.
That's the first AD might have contact, but they're not helping with any of the changes.
Yeah.
I mean, an actor, if they have a concern, they usually go straight up to the director. They might even go straight to the writer.
Okay.
And usually a phone call is made to the producers because the writer doesn't usually have the control for changing something like that.
Okay.
I do, if you've got your regular bullpen people, and this is something we had to do on ER. I don't know if you remember that show.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
There were tons of people in the hospital, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you still had to have a handful of people who were there every time. So that it was like, oh, I recognize this person subconsciously or consciously.
Right.
Oh, these are some, and then we had easily 100, 200 extras every day.
So someone thinks about that, like, because that ER lasted for about, what, 8 seasons? Or?
No, I think it was 12.
12?
Wow.
So 12 seasons? So
Yeah.
consistently you have to have, at some point, at least for 2 or 3 seasons, the same amount of people.
Oh, yeah.
If a person walks through.
Well, it was a great job for the key background people because they had a solid job for as long as they wanted it.
Right.
My sister worked briefly on Star Trek, and those uniforms, they actually needed a commitment from background artists because those uniforms were sewn for the measurements of the background artists because they couldn't have loose uniforms. This is supposed to be what is it? I forget, the Federation of Planets or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, don't ask me.
Yeah. So they had a the main people on the deck, right? But they didn't speak.
Right.
And when somebody would leave, it would usually be years before somebody left.
Yeah.
My sister happened to be there when somebody left, and she fit the uniform. So she became one of the regular crew members.
Yeah.
And then once in a while, if you're lucky, they'll let you say a line or two, and then your rate goes up for the day.
Exactly.
But yeah, every show has some people that the audience can recognize as a regular. Otherwise, it's like, wow, where they have a high rate of turnover at this hospital. Nobody ever looks the same. I mean, you can change the patients all the time, but you need to have some regulars and then fill it in with whatever.
But that's so true because I think that would affect me psychologically to look at, ER, look at the doctor's room or Star Trek and look at the captain's deck and not be able to say, oh yeah, I've seen that person before, because it makes sense that they would have some routine people. Well,
and you might not notice it if they weren't there, but when they are, then it's like, oh, here's some regular people.
Right.
Whenever, Captain Picard is there, then we know that so-and-so is on the same deck working.
Right.
And it's like, oh yeah, that's that regular crew up there. If you had the crew switching all the time, then it would be weird.
Yeah. Well, it's a fun little trivia before we move on. I want to obviously talk more about your career. But your sister, you said Star Trek. Was it the original series or Star Trek Generation?
No, it's Enterprise.
Oh, okay.
The one Star Trek show that did not go 7 years.
Yes.
I think it went 3. It might have been 2, but I worked only in the very beginning because I was a trainee on the show.
Oh, wow.
I worked on the pilot
and
then the first couple of episodes. my sister came on as a background artist when I was there.
Yeah.
And then they'd call her once in a while. And I want to say it was several years later that they called her in. She was actually also on the episode where they have like an alternate universe. And whenever they have an alternate universe, there's always like sexy outfits.
Of course. Yeah.
So she had, she and one guy.
Yeah.
They were the ones that had the sexy outfits. I have no idea what the guy was wearing.
It's sci-fi.
Yeah. But she had the top just covered her breasts, right?
Wow.
And tucked in, so there was no possibility of reveal.
Right.
And the pants only came up to her hips.
Yeah.
And she could not sit down. Because if she sat down, then there'd be a lot of cleavage in an area that you really don't want to have cleavage.
Yeah.
And when she actually left, on a break to go to lunch, she had to wear a jacket.
Right.
Not because they're covering the uniform, you're on the lot, but so she wouldn't get too much attention.
Exactly.
And that uniform that she wore actually sold on eBay for over $1,000.
Whoa. Please tell me she got some money from that.
No.
That's terrible.
Because she didn't own it. Belonged to the show, but it said as worn by Cecilia Specht. And it was hilarious because they were making it seem like she was some big actor, which
now
she
the
may
nerds
be someday.
listening right now are typing into the computers.
Yeah.
For that.
That is Cecilia with 2 E's. And Speck, that it looks like Specht. So if anybody wants to look her up.
That is great trivia. That's amazing.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So you've worked on a lot of different shows.
Yeah.
Can you name your favorite and just your experience on those sets?
Well, I have to be honest. I've never watched any of the shows I worked on except one, and only after I was on it, Malcolm in the Middle.
Yes, I was hoping it was that one.
Yeah, and that actually wasn't my favorite experience. It was until my second to last show. My second to last show was Medium.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just such a great crew.
Yeah.
And you hear in awards, people go, my appreciation to the crew, they were the best crew in the business.
Yeah.
I think most of the time they're just saying that, because most of them really don't know the crew. But on Medium, the actors knew all the crew could talk to the actors like normal people. And just everybody was real supportive. So many times you're on a crew and something goes wrong and people want to point fingers because they're protecting their job, and that never happened that even amongst my own department, the assistant directors. It was just so supportive, and we were so looking forward to the 7th season.
Yeah.
And came Christmas time, I think a month before Christmas, they suddenly canceled the show.
Oh.
Wow.
So oftentimes a crew, whether it's electric or camera or assistant directors, if you know this is the last season, you have plenty of time to find another show and possibly take your whole crew with you.
Right.
But this happened so suddenly that we just scattered because it was kind of like every man for themselves.
Yeah.
Because you needed a job. You couldn't wait for your boss to find a job to bring you on.
And that was Fox?
No, I think it was CBS.
CBS, okay.
Yeah, somebody out there knows and will correct us.
Right, of course.
Some of the other shows I worked on, as I mentioned, ER, Star Trek Enterprise.
Right.
I also worked on CSI, and people go, which one? Is
it,
the first one.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't designate a
The original CSI.
Criminal Minds.
Oh, wow.
Brothers and Sisters.
Right.
And I know there are others that I'm forgetting. But
on your IMDb page, I think it said Alias.
Yes, thank you. Alias I worked on.
Yeah. Did you get to meet and talk to Jennifer Gardner at all? Or?
Yes.
Okay. And J.J. Abrams was also, he was a showrunner, right?
Yes, that's right. He would come through once in a while.
Did you get to talk to him?
Yeah, he was there one time with his son.
Okay.
And I didn't really know who he was.
Yeah.
So I was chatting to him, and then suddenly it dawned on me, oh, right.
Well, this is kind of before he became really big.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
But he was still recognizable back then.
Right.
Even. So I'm surprised I didn't know who he was.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, there are a few, I shouldn't say a few, more than a few exceptions of actors I worked with who were really difficult or needy or however you want to say it. I am hesitant to mention who they are.
Yeah, that's fine. We won't have you rat anybody out.
Yeah, but if you see me go like this behind the chair, then I'd be happy to talk about them in person. I do all the time.
Yeah.
But in a public forum,
probably
not. But interesting is there really not as many difficult people out there as you might think.
Oh, that's good.
And there are some actors who you would think were difficult. Like, I have a feeling, I'll be happy to praise people.
Right.
Sally Field it's not like she's warm and she's not warm and fuzzy, but she is such a professional.
Okay.
She was there anytime they needed them. She was always just focused on the job.
Right.
And oftentimes she'd be in her room or trailer working on the next job, whenever that might be.
Right.
You know, because brothers and sisters ran a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was, you know, there. And you could approach her.
Right.
And talk to her, but you sort of had to make sure she wasn't working, not because she was fussy, but because you wanted to respect her work.
Yeah, of course.
But one time I was in an elevator with her, and it was just she and I told her some amusing anecdote, and suddenly she just burst out laughing.
Nice.
And I was like, "Whoa, where did that come from?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Sally Field, she's would she classify as like Hollywood royalty at all, or she just had such a long, lengthy career?
She still does.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I would say so.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's an audience today, you know, under 40 that maybe 30, who don't know who she is.
Right.
Besides her recent television work,
Right.
they probably don't even know that she played Mrs. Lincoln in Lincoln.
I was just gonna say that's the most recent movie I've seen her in.
Yeah.
And she was great in that, and then we
She
saw
was
her
also in Maniac.
in
too,
Maniac on Netflix. That
I haven't seen it.
yeah.
No.
But I you know, Sally Fields is she's such a
Field,
great.
no S.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Sally Field. She's a great.
I say that because she says that.
Oh, okay. No, wait, what?
She has been known to be a little prickly about the S. Not in person, but she hates it when it's in the paper or something like that.
Okay. So Sally Field.
She's not going to hunt you down. Let's put it that way.
Well, if she does, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, that's
I think
true.
like, hey, hunt me down.
Yeah.
No,
And
that's
she
great.
is a petite woman, but she's got a lot of energy.
Yeah.
She seems like a bigger woman.
Well, okay. Before we move on, Malcolm in the Middle, I've talked to you about it before. But do you have any fun stories from being on that set?
He's just a huge fan of Malcolm in the
Yeah,
Middle.
I've watched it at least almost twice through on Netflix, and
I'll tell you this, working with Bryan Cranston on that show.
Yes, yeah.
We all knew he was a genius comedian.
Right.
Right?
Right.
No one ever thought anything about him doing dramatic work.
Right.
But he was so funny in the scenes, but also behind the scenes. He
Yeah.
was just a funny guy, and we thought, why is this guy not getting nominated? Year after year, he doesn't get a nomination. And then finally, I can't remember if it was last year or the second to last year or whatever, he did get a nomination for Best Supporting Actor in a Comedy, and he didn't win it. But it was like, finally.
Right.
And
the woman who played Lois, I don't know her actor's name.
oh my gosh, Jane Kaczmarek.
Okay, yeah.
Fantastic lady.
Yeah.
Really nice. Full of energy,
Yeah.
full of care. I shouldn't say really nice. I would say it's not like it's, you know, how in LA sometimes there are people that are like, "Hi, how are you?"
Yeah, fake
She
nice.
was very real nice.
Yeah.
You know, very, you know, so she wasn't you know, trying to kiss up to you or
Yeah.
trying to win over your
Right.
affection, but she was just a normal gal, you know, and she was great to work with.
Yeah.
Really great. And I got nice little token gifts
Really?
from her and Brian and a director and a producer and a camera department when I left.
Wow.
I was only there for 50 days. That was my training period.
Right.
But we all got along great, and they had this tradition where on your last day, for anybody, they would sing happy birthday.
Oh.
Yeah, had nothing to do with your birthday, but
Yeah.
it was just a tradition they had.
Right.
Well, we were working on they don't have a back lot at CBS Radford. What they have is a big parking lot. And we had set up a carnival or fair back there.
Right.
But we were only allowed to shoot so late because it was right next to a suburban neighborhood, like just over the fence.
Yeah.
So at 10, we had to shut everything down.
Right.
So it was my last day, and they came out with a cake, and they started singing happy birthday to me, but in a whisper.
That's good.
And I remember when it happened, I just tried to look at every face so I would remember it.
Yeah,
Because moments like that, you just forget.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I just looked around at every single face, and I thought, how cool is this? The director who was there, Ken Kwapis, is a huge name now in both comedy and drama. The producer was there, and like I said, Jane and Brian, and like I said, the camera department, and it was just so sweet.
Yeah.
And then some of us went to a late night restaurant afterwards, like 10 of us from different departments, and Brian went with us.
Wow.
That's so cool.
It was really cool. So I think he may have even picked up the tab. Though he may not want that known because other crew members may expect it.
Right.
But yeah, we all knew he was an amazing talent.
Yeah.
And Jane just has done this and that and the other.
Right.
She hasn't had, I don't think, anything that has stuck.
Yeah, like
as
Breaking
well
Bad or something.
Yeah, but she is an incredibly talented woman. So if anybody's out there looking for a Jane Kaczmarek type, I'd call Jane Kaczmarek.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I hope I'm saying her name right. Gosh, I hope.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
If you want to correct us, let us know.
Yeah, because it's a tricky last name.
Yeah. Well, Bryan Cranston's pretty easy. But what I love about their relationship on the show, even more than even what the kids were doing, is that they were very authentic as a couple.
Yeah.
But and they showed that side throughout the entire series of just like fight, but come back and make up, but also the unitedness together. Yeah. It was just amazing. But I never saw. I guess I saw a little bit in my home.
Yeah.
But I related to like the mom kind of taking care of everything, and she's like she truly is a leader.
Right.
Right. And the husband was just like running around, doing her bidding. Every once in a while, he'd stand up and do something.
Yeah.
But I feel like that was such a departure from the typical.
Oh yeah. It was the first one to do that, to
right.
show sort of the rawness of her family life that's real.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, that the kids really act like this, that the parents really act like this. They all love each other still.
Right.
But at the same time, they all have to tolerate each other.
Yes.
You know, I do have one little story I want to add.
Oh yeah, no, please.
I doubled for Jane's legs.
Whoa! Which episode?
Yeah, it was. You know, it was the episode where Brian's character, whose name I forget the name of the character now.
Oh, Hal.
Hal,
Yeah,
thanks. Became an artist.
Yes.
Yeah, and he was doing really funky, weird things, and because of that, he was becoming more romantic, and they ended up cutting it out. But the camera was supposed to be on Jane's. From the knee down, showing her step into the bedroom, and then they follow this path of rose petals up to Brian on the bed, and it looks like he's wearing nothing.
Yes.
And he's only got rose petals over the important parts.
Right.
And Jane was like, "Do I have to be here for this? I mean, you don't see me." And they're like, "Yeah, you can go home." But her stand-in at the time was pregnant, so her legs were a bit swollen.
Yeah.
And Jane's like, "Okay, what are we gonna do?" And I lifted my pants legs up and said, what do you think of this? She says, "Perfect, I'm out of here."
Nice.
Yeah, so I was doing this. I just rolled up my pant legs and wore the bathrobe over it.
Right.
And Brian has a line of some kind of hello, you know, like
so that was you and him.
Yeah, and between takes, I was like, "Brian, I hope you understand I can't look at you while you're doing this."
Right.
And he just said, "I know."
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
That was another thing too about the relationship is how raw they showed the sexuality.
Yeah.
Because again, like, you know, I grew up in a very conservative home.
Yeah.
So like talking about that, no.
Yeah.
But like they showed it on screen in a very tasteful way.
Yeah.
That was still good for kids and families to watch. And then the body shapes, they weren't like, you know, super hot model looking people.
Yeah.
And the hair,
You're just real looking.
Yeah, really very real.
Yeah, and it's just like I can totally see that scene right now, and him in his, you know, tidy whities and
oh no, there was no tidy whitey.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
In fact, when I first met Brian, the first day I worked on the show, my boss said, "Oh, you might want to knock on the door of the hair and makeup trailer and wait for them to tell you to come in."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh yeah, right," because I knew that you just knock and then you say stepping up in case a makeup artist has a pencil near somebody's eye. And when I say pencil, I mean like eyeliner.
Yeah.
And I knocked, but immediately opened the door, and there's Bryan Cranston, who looked like he was totally naked. And he was spread out like, you know.
With the hairy back?
He was sideways to me.
Okay, yeah.
And all I could see was, I could see that he was wearing what they call a modesty. Modesty underwear. So it's flesh colored, but it's G-string.
Right. Oh, what?
And he's standing there, and I'm seeing across him with he's like the Venus. What is it? The Leonardo DiCaprio. Leonardo da Vinci.
Venus de Milo? No.
The what man? The Vitruvian.
Oh, Vitruvian.
Oh.
Vitruvian? Okay.
I need to get more cultured. I didn't even know. I was thinking like the David statue, Jesus. I don't know.
I walked in and I looked at him and I just stopped dead in my tracks. And Brian looked over at me and just said, "Hello."
Yeah, I was just going to say like,
I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm the new trainee." He goes, "I'm Brian."
Oh my goodness.
Nice to meet you, something like that.
It feels like he hasn't changed at all then, like throughout the years.
No, it'd be really great to see him in a really good comedy. He's done some comedies, but I don't think they really showcased his ability.
Not like not in the middle, no.
Yeah, I think this guy could do a really funny comedy along those lines.
Right.
Somebody just needs to write a good film for it. Because a lot of the comedies right now, they're good, but they're really specific to the actors.
Right.
And I don't think anybody's really written something like that for Brian.
No, definitely.
Brian. We talk to each other every day. Yeah, Mr. Cranston.
I would think maybe the last movie that could have fit his his acting would be like Little Miss Sunshine, but maybe something like that along those lines. But I haven't seen a movie like that in since Little Miss Sunshine. So yeah,
that's a great film.
Yeah, great film, great film.
I'm a woman, and you're a woman.
Hi.
You just found out.
What do you know? What are the chances?
But yeah, so like, as a female working in like a male-dominated industry, what is that like? And did you sense any difference between like your job as an AD and like maybe a man doing the same thing?
Yeah, absolutely. The funny thing is, you know, I'm probably twice your age, right? So it's gonna be different for you now. I don't know how much different, but it will be different, significantly different that I'll notice, maybe you won't, now with the whole Me Too movement. And the fact that people are waking up and saying, yeah, this has been happening for a long time. I can't attest to other businesses, but the film industry has been incredibly sexist and lack of diversity forever, you know, since the beginning, right? So I worked from 2000 to about 2012, and the assistant director department usually has more women than others. Not necessarily. I mean, I was on a team where I was the only woman, 3 men. But the rest of the crew, the only time I ever saw a woman anywhere in the rest of the crew was in that camera department. I've seen loaders, which you don't have anymore because nobody shoots film. And I have seen a camera operator, but that was only when the DP was also a woman, which is the only time I saw that. So you're surrounded by a lot of men. And the crew are, you know, the workers. They're strong. They're, for lack of a better description, and by no means is this an insult, they're blue-collar workers. And they're hardworking. Right? So you're spending 12, 13, 14 hours a day on this set, and you really do become like a family. It's sometimes a very dysfunctional family. You know, on some shows, these families are more, you know, happy than others. But even just dealing with my own department, I just always chalked it up and said, okay, this is what I have to put up with. It's the film industry, and you know, you have to pay your dues, so to speak, and you can't really say anything about anybody because it'll come back to haunt you, or you're seriously going to lose your job. They're not necessarily going to fire you outright, but they'll do something so that you lose your job. And I didn't really think about the effect that it had on my career until the Me Too movement happened. And then I stopped and went, let me think back. Wow, I did not have to put up with that. It's not like I suddenly remembered stuff that happened. I just suddenly realized that all the stuff I put up with, that other people, other women, had to put up with. It was like, okay, I realize now that it was just wrong. It was just wrong. Some of it was minor, you know, like a Teamster saying when I was walking really fast, hey, I like your moves, you know, to a electrician brushing the crumbs of a cookie that I just bit into off my chest.
Wow.
Yeah, saying, oh, hey, let me brush that off for you.
Wow.
You know, stuff like that. You know, I actually had somebody one time say, I don't know if it's because you're lazy or because you're a woman. And I was like, wait a second. That was probably the hard thing that hurt the most. And I have to say I wasn't lazy. I was a woman. But it was somebody who was really, really macho. You know, so anything that they were going to do, it was really, really subtle.
Yeah.
And you think back and you're like, okay. I did have one really great job opportunity on a really, really good show. And I can't mention it, otherwise people will know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And an assistant director had to tell me that he would not be able to call me back for day work or hire me on full time because his wife would leave him if he ever had me back to work.
Wow.
Apparently, he had talked about me too much.
Oh.
And then when she came to visit one day on set, did not like the fact that I was younger and more attractive than her. So I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah.
I'm going to lose out on it was a big show that ran for many years.
Yeah.
So it's like I lost out on that employment, which in that position I would have been making $100,000 a year minimum.
Wow.
You know, minimum. And it would have set me up for my pension and all that. And instead I struggled to be a day player for years. I had full-time work for half a season on Alias, and I had full-time work for a full season on Without a Trace.
Oh yeah.
But other than that, I was day playing, which you're a freelancer and you're just trying to find gigs, you know, all the time. So, and you can't say no, because if you say no, then you fall to the bottom of the list, not because of being a mean thing, but they're going to call the next person, and then when they need another job, they're just going to go back to that last person.
Right.
You know, so it's really hard to get back up there in the view. So you're afraid to say no. I mean, I was at my grandparents' house 350 miles north of Los Angeles, and I had just gotten there at night, and I got a phone call saying we'd like you to come in for an interview. They had no idea I was out of town, and I wasn't going to tell them.
Yeah.
I said, sure, I can be there tomorrow at 10. I got in my car and drove all night. Well, it's 6 hours, 7 hours
Tomorrow at
to
10?
get there for the
Wow.
interview. And I got it. It was Alias. I was, like I said, on there for half a season.
Wow.
And my grandparents were cool about it, you know. So it's funny, almost every time that I planned a trip to see my grandparents, I'd get a job. So I was like, I got to plan more trips to see my grandparents.
Yeah.
I just think...
Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, I think it's crazy how that's just how society was, that you didn't even recognize what was happening.
Yeah.
And it took like this whole like awakening. You got woken up.
You know, and it's and also because you're low on the totem pole, that you think that's part of it.
Right.
Oh, I'm low on the totem pole, so this is what they do before you rise up in the ranks.
Right.
Not realizing that the men aren't being treated the same, because in the assistant director department, you're rarely near each other. Each assistant director is off doing something else. So you don't see what's happening to the other people. You might hear them complain about this and that, but it was never regarding some kind of discrimination regarding their gender.
Right.
You know, and or it was amusing stories. And then when you told your stories, you had to make them amusing.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, well, this just happened. Ha, 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 ha.
Yeah.
You know,
you don't want to drag the mood down.
Well, not only that, but you get labeled as a troublemaker.
Oh, wow.
You know, or a complainer.
Right.
And then they're like, well, we don't want to work with that person. Not because they're being mean, but like you said, bringing the energy down. They want to work with people. They want to work with competent people, definitely.
Yeah.
But people they like kind of can overcome a certain amount of incompetence.
Yeah.
Competence is kind of a strong word, but somebody can be somebody who's not as good as the other person.
Yeah.
But if they like that person, they'll always go for them over the other person.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like I said, you spend 14 hours with them every day. You don't want somebody around that's
you
not
don't
going to
like.
be a part of the team.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I think sometimes you see those scandals where, like, you know, the head of some studios sleeping with somebody and getting them gigs. So it's just those relationships. Do you think a part of the problem, like, now that the Me Too movement is helping to solve with Hollywood, is the fact that everything's based on relationships and who you know? Is there any way to break that system, or is that still a good system, but we just need to have more integrity?
It's like every industry. It's who you know.
Yeah.
You know, and for the longest time I thought, oh, who you know, like somebody big and important. No, you just need the person who's hiring your position.
Right.
I have worked in many jobs where somebody got the job because they were related to somebody higher up, which is a bummer, because somebody might come in who really wants the job, who really needs that break, but they don't know anybody, and then somebody's relative who most of the time is not nearly as qualified, if they have any qualifications at all, they don't even understand or appreciate how difficult it is usually to get that position. So they do come off spoiled,
right?
You know, they just don't know, they don't understand that there are people out there who would do everything short of killing someone to get that job.
Right. It's very competitive.
Yeah. And yeah, if you know somebody who's higher up and you're their friend or their relative, it does make a difference because they're going to, you know, being an assistant director, you have to climb the ladder in a certain order.
Right.
You know, and it will take a decade or more to get up to being the first AD or unit production manager.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it takes a long time if you're doing union work. You know, if you're non-union, you can probably get up faster, but then you have to find the trick of getting into a union show.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you know somebody higher up, they'll be looking out for you, and it's like, oh yeah, you did a good job as a second AD on that show. Let's have you come and be the first, and they'll give you a break. And if you can handle it, regardless of how stressful it may be or how much you're pulling your hair out and no longer seeing your family, because you're trying to make up for the education you would have got by working those years.
Right.
They're giving you an opportunity that somebody else would have had to work a lot harder for, and they'll also let you slide and keep you on the show longer for mistakes that you make. And I don't want anybody out there saying, "Oh, that's not true." It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, this is true in every industry.
Oh yeah.
You know, and people make a point of it in the film industry, but it's true in any industry.
Yeah.
I think they probably have better checks and balances in other industries, so that there's not so much blatant sleeping around.
Right.
But yeah, in Hollywood, it's always been something like, oh yeah, well that just happens.
Yeah.
You just have to put up with it.
Yeah, that's really, really just terrible. It's unfortunate.
Fortunately, I was never in that, position to have that happen to me.
Yeah.
But you know, you heard about some people, and I have to say, I would go, really? Does that still happen? Because it sounded like such an old 1950s to do. And it's not until you actually, somebody else is close enough to you to tell you their story.
Oh, okay.
So it's not until you build a relationship with somebody that they feel comfortable telling you what happened to them.
Right.
Oh, did that sound like gas passing just there?
No, it's fine.
Yeah, while I rub my shoes together.
I was just thinking about Wizard of Oz. I was thinking about you clicking
Oh,
heels.
clicking my heels. Yeah, let's just say that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's some people are kind of over the whole Me Too movement. They're like, oh gosh, another thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it's happening in the press all the time.
Right.
That doesn't make it not true.
Yeah, it's not less valid.
Yeah. It just means, hi guys, this is happening. And the thing that bothers me is there are definitely people who take advantage of it, which then brings the whole thing down.
True.
You know, it's like that you're lessening the impact of somebody's real experience.
Yeah.
Right.
So and unfortunately there are people who do that.
Yeah.
You know, who go forward and say, I'm going to sue so-and-so because this happened. And they're just like a small bit of validity to it, if anything.
Right.
So unfortunately, you know, those stories too get a lot of the press.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, this was fake, this was fake, this was fake.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have to, I don't know, I look at people like that and go, for shame.
Yeah.
You know, you really, really messed up this, set us back.
Right.
A step, and I don't mean us necessarily just women. I'm saying whoever is being held back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just bring us all down.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you are a big connoisseur and a big lover and a specialist really in the classic film.
Yes.
Part of the
Found
filming.
out my secret.
Yeah.
My very open secret.
Yeah. So can you talk about that and what denotes a classic film? Because I'm going to say Toy Story is a classic film.
How many years old is that?
It's 1995.
Oh, okay. For me, I'm a purist, so
Okay.
anything 20 years or older can be classified as a classic, but it doesn't, just because they're old, they're not classic.
Yeah.
A lot of people misuse that term, and they say classic for old movies.
Yeah, I'm one of those people. Sorry. So please educate me.
Yeah. Well, again, I'm a purist. There are other people who say, well, yeah, you can have a classic that's 3 years old.
Yeah.
I believe that you need time and distance.
Right.
To really be able to assess a film.
Right.
Because, whatever came out yesterday and is hugely popular, well, does it really stick in the, public's mind years later?
Yeah.
Does it have the legs to be something of, value's not right, but to be valid. No, valid's not the right word.
Yeah, I think valued, to be valued, and then for it to work in like
relevant. That's the word.
Yeah,
yeah.
Multiple
is
generations.
it still relevant?
Yeah.
You know, and relevant can be about a cartoon or animation, and it can be about a comedy.
Yeah.
But is it like there's several films in the history of the Oscars that have won that I'm like, what the what?
Yeah.
Because they were of the period of the day, and they just haven't held on.
They don't translate well.
No, not at all. And you're just like, okay, they made a huge mistake, and there was these other films of the year that have gone on to be like amazing classics that are very revered, and they weren't even nominated.
Right.
You know, so yes, I believe that the film has to be at least 20 years old. So every year, we have another batch of classics.
Yeah.
Right.
And certainly Toy Story. So right now, you just have to go back to 1999.
Yeah.
And it's anything older.
Right.
Like I said, it just has to have some, this it quality.
Yeah.
As that they have often applied to actors. They have something. They have it.
Yeah. This
that resonates.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna. It kind of bothers me a little bit though to think maybe I'm getting old and I'm thinking as an older person, but Avengers Endgame, biggest movie of all time, box office. Would not,
unless you adjust for inflation.
For inflation, right? So that'll be Gone with the Wind, I believe, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Right. So,
by the way, when you adjust for today's dollars, Avengers only is Endgame is I believe 17th.
Right.
Behind Titanic. No, right behind. Well, it's either Avatar or Titanic. I can't remember. So yeah, go on.
Oh no, that makes sense. No, that's fine.
I'm really a stickler for that.
No, we have to. That's what I was gonna get into. 20 years from now, you get students into your class and they're like, "Yeah, classic film, Avengers Endgame." Are you gonna like just shed a tear? Or are you gonna like, you're right? Or
and it's funny when you say you're getting older because there were the films that we grew up with.
Right.
Whether whatever decade you grew up in, high school and grade school and so forth, and even in your 20s when you're going to the movies a lot, right? When you're actually going to the movie theater, and you stick with that in your head, and so films that have either come out at that time or later, you go, that's not a classic.
Right.
Even though it might be 40 years that have passed, or 50 years, you're like, that's not a classic. It's not old enough. And then you're like, oh, wait a second. This is now at the same age as this other film that I highly revered when I was that age.
Right.
So there's this sliding ruler of in your own mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, I tend to look at 70s and older for myself.
Oh, that's fine.
Because of being stuck in the idea that the films that I saw in my day can't classify as a classic, but that's wrong.
Yeah.
So
so you're trying to stay objective about it.
Yeah, I try to, but so when students do bring it up, I sometimes groan and wait a second, that is that age. Yeah. Most of the time nowadays, the students think an old film is a film that their parents watch, so that's not even 20 years old. Sometimes it's 5 years old.
Right.
They go, wow, that's a really old film. Didn't that come out 5 years ago?
Yeah.
And I just shake my head going, okay, you have to understand what an old film is. And then they get confused about classics when they, Casablanca. Wasn't that made in the 70s?
Oh,
it's like, turned 1942.
Yeah, great film.
But that's and then I have to remind myself that they're students. Yeah. One time I said to this kid who was in my intro to film class, I said, like The Godfather, and he said, what? And I said, you haven't seen The Godfather? And he said, hello, intro to film.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's right. They're here to learn.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. Exactly.
Yeah.
So can you tell us about some of your favorite classic films?
Well, that changes all the time.
Okay.
And it's so hard to pick just a few.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you guys know this or not, but I won a contest at TCM.
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah.
Can you explain what that was?
Turner Classic Movies. It's shows classic movies.
Yeah.
And they've been around since 1994. They're in their 25th year. The last, I want to say, I think 6 years. 6 years ago, they had their first competition where a fan would do like a 90-second intro to a film, and they posted it, and then people voted, or I think actually the network itself decided on the winner.
Very cool.
Then they didn't do it for, I don't know, like 3 or 4 years. They brought it back 3 years ago, and the idea is if the powers that be at TCM like your intro the most, then you get a night of intros. So depending on how long the films are, 3 or 4 films to introduce.
Cool.
And you sit down with Ben Mankiewicz and you get to do the intro. Well, I won this year.
Yeah. Woo!
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I did my entry at the film festival because they had this stage set up that you could go up and they filmed it for you. So
Nice.
I was like, you know what? This is hassle-free.
Yeah.
I don't have to film something and figure out how to post it and send it, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And this is going to sound ridiculous, and I hope nobody gets mad about this, but I did it on a whim. You know, I was standing waiting for something in the lobby of the Roosevelt.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, hey, they're doing this, and there's no line.
Right.
Okay, I'll go up there.
Opportunity.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when I first got the email saying I won, I really thought my husband was pulling a joke on me. I turned and asked him and said, did you happen to send me something that says it was from TCM?
Wow.
And he's like, no.
Wow.
And the funny thing is he didn't ask why I was asking.
Yeah.
So I didn't tell him for a couple of days. And then when...
You're verifying all the facts.
I wanted to make sure it was
Yeah.
it was real. And then when I did find it was real, they told me I couldn't say anything until they announced it. And so I couldn't tell my mom or my sisters, who are huge TCM fans, about it until it happened. So that was kind of hard to keep. But I will be on the air the Monday of Thanksgiving week.
Okay. Hey, let's look out for that.
Yeah. And I haven't recorded it yet.
Yeah.
But when I do, I'm going to be introducing 4 of my favorite films
Nice.
that are my favorites right now. I don't know what they will be in a year.
There you go.
But 1939, Goodbye, Mr. Chips.
Okay.
If you haven't seen it, you've got to check it out.
Yeah, I need to see that.
It's the same year as Gone with the Wind.
Okay.
And the quality of that film, which was also nominated for Best Picture, it's right up there.
Right.
It's, it's different.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a quiet story, but I just love it. And it's about a teacher. You know, so it sort of goes hand in hand with my interests, right? Another film that I'll be introducing is Sherlock Jr.,
Okay.
which is a silent film, Buster Keaton, and I want to say it's from 1924.
Wow.
And I show it every year in my history of cinema class because it's just a fun, short, I think it's 40 minutes long,
Yeah.
film to introduce students to silence that, oh, wait, this isn't something I should stay away from. I shouldn't be afraid or just poo-poo, that's how old I am, just afraid poo-poo the film just because it's in black and white and it's silent.
Right.
You know, it's just such a wonderful film. And then the third film is The Thing from Another The Thing from Another World.
Okay.
Which is a 1957, mid-50s.
Yeah.
And The Thing from 1981
Right.
is based on that film, or I should say the story that film is based on.
Wow.
So I love it. It doesn't have any big stars. In fact, it doesn't have any stars at all, right? The actors nobody would know them today. But I'm not sure how to describe it. It's not like the cheesy sci-fi films of the same era.
Yeah.
And it's not as slick or glossy as like Star Wars, but it's a good film that makes you believe that what's happening could possibly happen, except for the monster.
Yeah.
That came from outer space.
Yeah.
But the whole idea of a flying saucer landing and the way these people handle it, and they have a camaraderie. It's like it's a very serious thing, but they still have light moments of a little bit of comedy.
Yeah.
I should not comedy like ha ha ha, but like oh okay, that was funny that he still ribbed his friend even though they're in a tense moment right now. That kind of stuff. And then the last film that I'll be introducing has been my top 2-3 films for like the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years.
Wow.
Lilies of the Field.
Okay, I've heard of that one too.
1963.
Yeah.
It was nominated for Best Picture, even though it was a little film, and it got beat out by one of those movies that I think should not have.
She thinks it's
you guys
trash.
can check it up, look it up, and find out for yourselves what won. And it's the film that got Sidney Poitier his Academy Award for Best Actor.
Yeah.
And sometimes people get confused, and I think it was from To Serve with Love or In the Heat of the Night or Guess Who's Coming to Dinner.
Right.
No, it was for Lilies of the Field.
Nice.
And it's a black and white film. It's such a neat story. This traveler who stopped to help these ladies who inherited this farm, and he keeps getting suckered in to help them. But anyway, it's a good little light film. I would put it on par with like Little Miss Sunshine. It's not as funny like that.
Yeah,
there are comedic moments, but it's not as funny. But it's like that kind of production value,
right?
Where it's a simple film that just ended up being a huge hit because people like it.
Yeah.
And Poitier, as you may know, was the first African-American male to win an Academy Award.
Right.
In fact, he was the only second African American
Yeah.
to an award. Hattie McDaniel won a Best Supporting for Gone with the Wind,
Gone with the Wind. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
in 1939.
Exactly.
So it was almost 30 years
Wow, yeah.
later before another African American received an award.
Yeah.
And Poitier, oh my gosh, he's so good in anything. If there's somebody out there who hasn't seen a Poitier film, you have not seen a Poitier film?
I haven't. I need to see it.
I do. I want to show him because I have the
I'm
Blu-ray.
you, Michelle, because you should be educating him.
Well, I have the Blu-ray. Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, and we keep talking about we should watch that together.
Yeah.
You haven't seen it?
No,
I've seen Roman Holiday though.
Okay, but she wrote a really good review for one of my classes about Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. It was so good I posted it on my website, classicfilmfan.com.
Yep. Hey, plug yourself. Yeah. Plug yourself. There you go.
So, did you at least read the review? Which actually you probably shouldn't before you see the movie.
Yeah, because I don't want to spoil myself. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny that I say don't read a review before watching the movie. I think reviews should actually be more informative and talk about the quality of a film,
right?
Rather than I don't
story
think people,
details.
Well, and you appreciate it more after you've seen the film,
right?
And then you can also disagree or agree with the writer.
Yeah.
So it's more of a collaborative experience.
That's what I like to use reviews for.
Yeah, that you're almost engaging in a conversation with the reviewer,
right?
As opposed to this person's opinion.
Yeah.
Right.
So anyway. See the film.
Okay. Yeah.
See anything with Poitier in it. Even if I think there's a couple films he was in that the film itself is not that great.
Yeah.
But he has never given a bad performance.
Okay.
Also, the really interesting thing about Poitier is, other than this Western that he did, that I think he directed, he looks the same in every film. The man is timeless.
Yeah.
He's
Doesn't
classy.
age. Yeah.
So you don't have like trendy looks on him, and that tends to keep those films
relevant.
Thank you.
Yes.
Relevant. So because again, he's not a trendy guy.
Yeah.
So that film, other than it being in black and white, which some people have a problem with, and there's an old Rambler station wagon.
Yeah.
And there's one slur that's said in the film that you really wouldn't hear today without a massive fight happening.
Oh yeah.
Which Sidney Poitier gets his own back by repeating that slur back to the person.
Right.
It sounds worse than it is, but it's a subtle thing, but you wouldn't hear it today.
No, that's fine.
And I don't want to tell you because it's a great moment in the film.
Yeah.
But besides that film could have been shot yesterday.
Lilies in the field.
Of the field.
Lilies of the field, yeah.
Yeah, and if you want to look it up, be sure that you only put one L in the middle. I'm always putting two L's in the middle. Just one L. It's a great film. Look it up. You gotta see it. Anybody just gotta see it.
Okay, so I have some homework to do.
Yes.
But also, to win the contest for TMC,
TCM.
TCM. What was the movie you intro?
It was Goodbye, Mr. Chips.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know how I came up with that movie at the last second.
Yeah.
I think maybe it was because I thought, he's a teacher and I can go on about being a teacher.
Right.
I winged the whole thing, which is
That's
surprising
awesome.
for me because I can wing things in class, but here I was on a stage with a microphone and a camera.
And a camera, it's a little different.
And you don't want to stumble,
right?
Because then you'll have to start over again, and then you'll never say anything the same again.
Yeah.
Right. If you watch it, I'll send you a link.
Yeah.
You'll see. At one point I'm like a little. Take a big breath because I'm trying to collect my thoughts in my head. But it was fun.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about doing it.
Oh, definitely.
I'm going to make sure all my students watch it. I'll give them extra credit for it. If they don't watch it, I might take away a credit.
Right. And then they can all write a review.
They can all write a review. I said, well, you didn't say this right, or you looked scared, or something like that.
Are you going to have them watch all the intros and then also the movies to go with the intros?
That's a great idea.
I think so.
Yeah, I should just have a viewing night in my backyard.
Yes.
That screen that we have, and
Yeah.
invite everybody over for 4 hours of movies.
Yo, invite us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Of course, it's a Monday night, so the next morning's gonna be rough.
I gotta get early off of work or something.
Yeah. But I've put it on my social media about it. I've put it on my Facebook page, classicfilmfan.com.
Yes.
On my Instagram, which is Classic Film Professor, and my Twitter, which is Classic Films.
Yeah.
It's like a whole bunch of different handles because you go on there and somebody else has your handle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get them all on board, but I've
Right.
got to wait for somebody to
Give up
give it up. Yeah.
So she's waiting for someone to die, essentially.
Yes, I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to say it.
No,
up
it's
the
fine.
ghost.
She's building the brand. Building the brand.
Yeah.
thank you so much for your time being here. We can't let you go without discussing one more thing.
Okay.
We just like when we have someone to interview, we want to like asking this question: is there a story that you're dying to tell?
Oh man.
And if you don't want to share, then that's totally fine too.
Oh wow. There's so many of them. I couldn't really choose, but I had this story a long time ago that I came up with that I called Tomboy.
Okay.
Another film has come out since then called Tomboy. And it's sort of similar because my story is about a young girl who's just about to have her first period. And during the film she does, and she hates it. Yeah. It's the worst thing that's ever happened to her. I actually haven't seen the other film. I know it involves a young girl, but I don't know what happens in the film. I should probably see it. But yeah, my concept is about the difficulties of that point where suddenly you are a separate gender. Ooh. You know, because when you're a kid,
you don't think about it.
Well, I'm sure I know there's a lot of little girls out there who are little girls and little princesses. Right. And for the most part, you know that the parents have planted those ideas into their head. Yeah. I grew up a tomboy. Yeah. You know, I grew up in Santa Cruz. And it was a hippy dippy town. I would always describe it as Berkeley on the beach. Yeah. So there was I don't remember any of that gender identification happening when I was growing up. I used to wear the neighbors' hand-me-downs, and my neighbors were all boys, you know, nice. And my brother's hand-me-downs. So, and I loved it, you know, and I did not like being, what's the word I'm looking for? Identified as a girl and being pushed to the side, categorized, and sort of being pushed to the side as a girl. Yeah. So that's a story I would like to tell. I also would like to include the fact that her mentors in the film are these like tough biker chicks, you know. Ooh. And the interesting thing too within that is that some of these biker chicks will be lesbians and some of them won't, and some of them will be of different a diversity, you know. And the idea that at that age where everything's changing is trying to figure out these thoughts in your head. You know, like what does that mean? Right. You know, to me. You know, and can I still use this person as a mentor? Even though they're different from me. So it's just that kind of idea of this coming into your own personality. Right. Because before you hit that age where you're just beginning puberty or like pre-puberty or right into puberty. You're not your own person. You're really your parents, an extension of your parents. Yeah. So that's the time where you're really coming up with your own ideas. And it can be scary. Oh, yeah. Owning your own ideas and thoughts.
And questioning what your parents have already taught you.
Yeah. Or even like, well, do other people think this, you know, around you? That's when you suddenly become awkward. Yeah. So that's my story that I would like to tell.
Kind of, tell me if I'm wrong. I could be flat wrong. I was kind of seeing like a lean on me, but like... the girl's just a girl, and then all her friends are like these older women biker chicks kind of thing, and they go through this experience together.
That's kind of a good way to pitch it. Okay. That was really good. You get an A.
Yes. Awesome. Yeah. And then would the inciting incident be her having the period, or would it be okay?
It would be her, because you know the idea is that her parents, you know, she's the youngest of the family. Her parents, she's the tomboy, and then when she makes this change, it's like, oh gosh, oh gosh, she might be turning into her sister, who you know is going to be like somebody who's more traditional female, right? Shopping, which I hate to say that, it's such a stereotype. I hate it when you say, cliche, oh my gosh, you hear it on the news, and it's like, really, people, we're still using that cliche, right? And I just used it, but you know, prettying themselves up and falling into cliches, right? Let's put it that way, right? I won't go over into the cliches because it'll sound like I'm being, you know, narrow-minded. But yeah, so it's like, how do I balance these cliches, or do I make my own path? Right. Yeah. You know, so
that sounds good. I think that would do really well now, especially that people are really.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah. If anybody out there is interested in this story, you can contact me at Carrie at classicfilmfan.com.
Exactly.
Which is really my email address.
The A24 studio.
A24,
Yeah, I think films. I think that could pick it up.
And I will pitch Michelle to be the director.
Yes. Oh, thank you.
Absolutely, I could trust it in your hands.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You, Jesus, I don't know.
No, I'll just sit back and I'm good. I'm just sit back, relax.
You can support her.
Exactly. Yes. No, I like I said this. I'm ready to just become like a at-home husband and let her career just bloom, and I'm good to go.
I like that.
Yeah, take care of the kids. Yeah, have a second childhood.
It works for me. Does it work for you, Michelle?
Yeah, it does.
There we go. Yeah. It's done. It's said.
Exactly. No, I'm cool with that. All right. Well, Thank you for listening to the Musty Creative Podcast. This has been an episode with Carrie Specht. And we would just, again, want to thank you so much for being on the show.
It was so much fun. Thank you.
Yeah.
Really.
Can you plug us again, everything that you want to share?
Oh, well, classicfilmfan.com. Yeah. On Facebook, I'm the same.
Yes.
Instagram is Classic Film Professor.
Yes.
Twitter @Classic Films. And I am working on a book that hopefully I'll finish in the next year.
Oh, cool.
Where I'm interviewing a bunch of famous people.
Yeah.
About their favorite classic movie moment, not necessarily favorite film, but moment, to benefit the Motion Picture Television Fund retirement community.
Right.
So anyway, that's hopefully will come out in the next year.
Does that have a name or?
Yeah, it's called Classic Visions.
Oh, cool.
And the information about it is on my website.
Okay.
Awesome.
And in any movies you're working on or TV shows?
Well, there's a movie I'm working on for the university that I work at, La Sierra University. I'm working on a tribute film for the centennial celebration in 2022.
Oh, wow.
When I say tribute, it's about one of the most famous, proudest moments, which was helping students who were interned during World War II.
Right.
And the then president helped get them out.
Oh, wow.
So it's a true story.
Yeah.
And I'll be working on it for the next year or so.
That's awesome. And then when or how would people be able to watch it, if any?
Well, it won't be until after 2022
Yeah.
because
Okay.
I've got to show it for the university first and
Right.
then probably do the festival circuit after that. And
Okay.
if I'm lucky, then maybe it'll get on PBS for short film showcase
that'd be
or
cool.
Sundance Channel or whatever.
Okay.
You know? So we'll see. Or somebody buys it and wants to make it into a feature.
Yeah,
Yes.
that'd be nice.
To our Musty Collective, if you have any projects you're working on in 2019, please let us know by posting on social media with the hashtag the Musty Creative, and we will share it on the show. And that's all we have time for. Remember to leave us a review on iTunes and find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and anchor.fm/musty. And now it's time to
Shower up.
There we go.
Gives them a satisfaction they couldn't get any other way.